I know that my mom really wants us to have a good life, and that in order to do that, she needs to put money on the table, which is why she's always up at like 5:30 in the morning ironing my clothes. And then she doesn't wake me up sometimes. If I don't wake up, she doesn't wake me up till like 6:20, 6:30, because she wants to make sure I have like a good amount of rest.
Comprar lite som man var igång på aplicar el budget här. Donde va Kevin también. Och el otro semestre.
She feels like we deserve a better life than she had when she was a kid. She's been through the hardships of literally starting from nothing in a country that isn't your own, and not having anyone to support you. And so she really wants to be sure that we have that support, that we could go farther than she ever could.
There are very few projects you can be involved in that make a generational difference. Taking kids who really don't have an opportunity to get a prep school education and to get a college education, for us, was an important thing. We knew enough of the people in Cristo Rey to know they were a good group of people. And they impressed us as people who they were honest, they had integrity, and they knew what they were about.
I came to Cristo Rey because I was looking for a school that was very mission-oriented. You would be hard-pressed to find another private school that pretty much exclusively serves students that might not be able to afford to go to some of the other private schools in the city. And our entire student population fits that description.
The whole history of Cristo Rey Atlanta has been improbable. The initial feasibility study, there was a great deal of concern whether or not we could even get the school off the ground. But then after 2 years, we were running out of space in the existing building that was donated to us by the Archdiocese of Atlanta. And so we needed to move.
So we began looking for a building downtown. Our requirements were that we be on MATA for the Cristo Rey students to come to school.
Oxford Industries had moved out of their headquarter building, and we thought that it could become a very interesting boutique, small, intimate hotel.
I went through about 100 buildings downtown and found this Oxford building that was for rent, and we couldn't afford to rent.
Our parents have an average family income of about $30,000 here in Atlanta. So we don't charge hardly anything to the parents in terms of the tuition or fees. So we have to rely on philanthropic gifts. And in fact, the biggest foundation in town said to us it was impossible for then a 2-year-old school to raise that kind of money.
People told Bill Garrett that Jim Cumming would never donate this building.
We got a phone call from a fellow named Bill Garrett, and he was representing the Jesuit high school. I went to Jesuit schools in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, growing up. I ended up meeting Bill. We met at the Corner Cafe for breakfast one day, and before we started, he leaned forward and he said, I'd just like to ask you one question. And I said, sure.
When we approached Jim Cumming about the possibility of him donating the building to us, he said,
"Are you serious?" And he looks with a straight face. He said, "Yes." And I looked back at him and I said, "That's totally impossible. Outright gift with no mortgage, pay off all the debt, that's not possible." The next night, I woke up in the middle, probably around 3 o'clock in the morning. I rolled over and I said to my wife, "What would you think if we did this?" She looked at me and she said, "If this is what you want to do, I'm all in. Let's go." So I phoned Bill up and I said, "Bill, if you'd care to, I'll meet you back at the Corner Cafe again and we can talk about this." And he said, "Why don't you come to our Jesuit high school?" So he told me where it was, and I said, "Okay, I'll come there." As soon as I crossed the threshold, I see this student there, And the first thing that occurs to me, I'm having flashbacks. He's got the Jesuit tie on, navy blue with a gold stripe. I remember this tie from 54 years ago. That's the tie we used to wear. I said to Bill, I'm not going to promise anything yet, but I'm leaning towards what you asked me about.
Jim Cumming, to me, fell into the night of the restless soul as it came to determining to give away a 70,000 square foot building in downtown Atlanta to an upstart high school. Why would somebody make that kind of decision? I think that a person who doesn't give back is just violating one of those cosmic rules of the universe. You know, you get what you give in life, and if you give good things, you get good things.
And it was a terrific, incredibly good feeling for us.
When we looked at the exterior of the building and found out the condition of the current concrete panels, we realized this is going to be a very interesting and challenging site.
I have seen the building that is at 222.
It looked really old and run down.
The elevators didn't really work and everything was kind of, I guess, rusty.
I'm guessing it's going to look a lot better than it does now.
It looked kind of like a prison because of the little windows that they had.
We were very, very concerned about its structural condition being 50 years old. We knew from its age and the fact that it had precast on the outside of it that there were going to be water problems. And we needed to see just how far that building had deteriorated.
The building as a whole was on the verge of dilapidation. The lower floors definitely had some corrosion.
The elevators didn't work. The heating system was non-existent.
The existing windows were the original plate glass. There was no insulation qualities to it. The sealant around the windows had to be redone.
It's a lot easier when it's built from ground up.
We wanted to get people that we knew were going to help make this project a success in on the front end. Knowledge transfer of what owner expectations are, what the school's expectations are, really starts in these preliminary budgets that we put together.
When we started this project, we did not have the $25 million that we needed to make this thing go. And so we needed a partner who was going to take a risk with us. Somebody who would say, okay, I will go along with you as far as your resources will take you. And we can stage this so if we need to pull out at some point in time, we can do so and still give you a product that you can use for the future of the school. And so Ted took a flyer with us.
The city has given us progressive approvals on the floors, but they will not issue a permit until we get the hydrostatic pressure at floor 7.
We have to have the building. We have outgrown where we're at. We will be out of there in May, completely.
Nick Gentili was our staff person leading the effort for us. He asked Ted Benning if it'd be okay if the contractors could come to our old school building. Ted Benning was very supportive of it. They had a tour of the school, met with the students, and I tell you, they came back and said, really, we can truly make a difference in the lives of the students if we can provide a high-quality facility for them to learn for generations to come.
I like the thoroughness of what I see. It's nice to go up on a floor and see things pretty darn well done outside of small items.
I've had some less than stellar experiences with other builders and other contractors. I wound up asking about a half a dozen construction companies. Benning was the most professional of all the groups, and I also was comfortable that they had the best interest of the building and the school in mind from the time we first met.
Nick, do you have anything to add from the school's point of view?
The experts in how this school is supposed to function, the experts were Cristo Rey. So we wanted to be sure that we were listening to how they needed to create a facility to help nurture those students.
222 is going to help us
be able to do everything that we need to as a school.
This building needs to show all the feelings that they have. They want to be doing great things for the nation. They deserve a good building.
My expectation is that we're going to have more clubs, first of all.
More room to study.
Better PE classes.
A welcoming place with many windows.
More quiet areas. Wonderful equipment for our students to be able to learn. And more after-school activities. So I'm pretty happy about that. We are an incredible community. You can see that even in this building that we have right now. It's not necessarily pretty, but it's about what we make happen inside.
I was not a teacher to begin with. I'm a physical therapist. I started substituting to teach science, and I fell in love with teaching. And so I went back and got 3 different teaching degrees so that I could work in schools. I've been teaching for about 17 years now. We don't teach on a normal high school level. I ask teachers to know the students, to know their backstories if the students are willing to share them.
Our students have very different challenges. They are a very different population than most other high-end private schools. For a lot of them, the 2 meals that they get here are probably the only 2 meals that they're getting throughout the day. There are students who worry about whether the heat is getting cut off at their home, and if they can even get to school on time because of a transportation situation.
People who are not part of the school have an idealized version of what our students are like. They think they're these noble young students. They're still teenagers. And I think that's one of the loveliest things, that amidst all the chaos that goes on in their houses, they're still teenagers and they're normal. And I love that. There are a million stories. Every time I think that I've heard it all, there's students come in and tell me something every day, and it's like, okay, I've never had this situation before. And I have to think on my feet. The students make me laugh. You never know around here what a student's going to throw at you.
When we looked at the exterior of the building, we looked at maybe redoing all of the concrete panels. Of course, that would have been very cost prohibitive. The bottom 2 floors, we eventually said we'll just leave the precast panels in place and just put a new skin on it.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? That's great. Well, this is the 6th floor, and so what we did on this particular building is that this was the old Oxford Industries building, and these will be the new classrooms. Do they look larger? Yeah. All right, great.
I did my undergrad in chemistry, and so science is really important to me. And we didn't really have proper lab space for the sciences.
We've got a place for demonstration, so the teacher will be on one side of the glass, students will be on the other.
I not only drive the buses, but I have been responsible for the whole time for lunch, getting lunch to them. We don't have a real cafeteria, so everything is makeshift. So I'm looking forward to there being a real true cafeteria.
Everybody here we go. Everything that you see through this end is our new cafeteria, and we want y'all to sign the wall as a memorial of what we did today and the fact that we're moving along with the construction and that you were part of this.
Good. Ted, you all ready? I don't know. We're ready? Good, okay. 1, 2, 3.
Viva Cristo Rey!
If you need to use 680 West Peachtree, the back lot of Cristo Rey, okay, that's free parking there.
If you park in there, park on the 3rd Street side. because the 4th Street side is our, I want to say exercise. We actually play volleyball and stuff on that slope. So that's why we need a gymnasium.
When we design plans and specifications and Cristo Rey approved that design, we made very few changes, and it allowed us to concentrate on schedule, it allowed us to concentrate on quality. And that is such a rare coin in our business. Now, there was add-on scope where we did a gym.
There was a 50-year-old deck there. It was cracked and the concrete looked like it was starting to deteriorate, and it was just time for it to come down.
We did a concrete core. That retaining wall was built as part of the parking deck structure, so the structure itself was holding the wall back. We wanted to see if we needed to shore it up to make sure that the parking deck next door didn't collapse and slide into the gym.
One of the toughest things at that project was the existing Oxford building was fed underground, under the building, under the sidewalk, into the vault that Georgia Power has out there that maintains that whole corner. We had to pull additional copper, 2 runs, about 100 feet from the switchboard inside the Oxford building to the Georgia Power vault. There's 12 inches of water. You're around a lot of exposed voltages, so you have to be very, very careful. And we did it all in one day. Very long day, but we got it done.
Morning, Mr. Griffin.
Hey, morning. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
Good. It's a good day?
Yeah, it's good. Nothing big job.
Awesome.
To fund our school, students work 1 day per week.
Morning. How are you?
All right. Yourself?
Good. How's school?
Everything's cool.
Yeah?
Fine so far. Yeah.
Congratulations on your scholarship.
Oh, thank you. I tried my best. Right?
Yeah. You worked hard on that.
Yeah.
The companies pay us a certain amount of money for a team of 4 students to work. And they take a low-level job that a recent college graduate would take.
Which has a great educational opportunity that they wouldn't have elsewhere, but it does mean missing traditional classroom time. So we really need to focus on being highly, highly effective in the time that we have.
Working 1 day a week grows our students up. It forces them to interact with adults. It forces them to become more articulate, to navigate a world that most teenagers don't get the opportunity to navigate. And it helps them prepare better for college.
And that would be appropriate because it's the same thing for international addresses.
Education is the way to change America. And by changing these kids and having a sustainable future, it's worth the effort. Most of these kids, many of whom are the first kids in their family to go to college, and the commitment of the parents behind them is really impressive. I'm much more bullish on America's future, knowing how many motivated kids that we have. I think millennials in particular get a bad rap of not being motivated. If you meet Cristo Rey students, you will change your mind completely.
It's been good to get to know Abraham and work with him in a lot of the projects that we're working on. It sometimes does have a positive impact to have a third party take a look at things that you're doing. A good idea can come from a high school student as well.
Media room. Media room. Sheetrock and paint cover a lot, don't they?
It's exciting.
7th floor looks pretty good too. I don't know if you've been up there, but
Not recently.
We're about ready to start running ceiling grid up there. There's your break room right there.
Yeah. We'll go with the orange wall and the accent like we did upstairs. And then all of them be the same accent.
Good.
But this looks great.
Yeah, this turned
Going
out
into the
as
whole
well as we
flooring.
could hope. Grab Phil and go get a can of orange spray paint.
Good.
Get him to make a mark up on
Here's Phil right
Phil.
there.
Next to that box, is that good for you? Okay, make it happen.
Get on the phone, let's go! Let's go!
I was actually just talking to another teacher on Friday night about how it can be fatiguing, it can be a bit overwhelming. For the students and faculty and staff, for all of us, it asks a lot. The project we're undertaking is a big one. Then both of us said, but where else would we be? You know, what else would we be doing?
I just can't believe it's our school. Like, our old school is really small and it's like overpopulated with all these kids. And now we have this big 7-story building with a parking deck. We have no carpet, we have real floor. Like, it's just a big upgrade. I'm really enjoying it so far.
On a typical job that I'm on, foundation experts come before me. This job, because of the time constraints that we were in, we came in and worked alongside the pile drivers. My work is completely covered. Doing a good job for us is where nobody will ever see my work. I like working in the country. You're out there by yourself. I didn't really know where 222 Piedmont Avenue was until I rode up there and looked at it. And all I could think of is, oh my goodness, everybody can see you right here. Whenever you have an impervious area, which everything on this site was, you have to retain the water and give it time to settle out any kind of matter that is not conducive to stream life, and feed it through what we call rock filtration systems at a rate that will not overflow downstream.
Being a project manager out of Cristo Rey, a lot of it was a referee, just making sure that everyone had enough space to work in the same space at the same time. We had 7 floors, so we had something going on, a different trade on every floor. We probably had 20 trades going on at one time, and at any given moment, once they started, it was wide open until completion. Spreading people out and directing traffic was a big thing.
Well, on this project, we didn't have a laydown area. A laydown area is the area that we stockpile material in, so we have it available to use as we go along on the project. But we did not have a laydown area. We had to sequence the material in there as needed, and we stockpiled it in an area where we knew we could use it up quickly, and then move into that area and start working. So that was the biggest issue with this project.
It is now 9:05 a.m. The test time has ended. It is now 9:05 a.m. Thank you. And we now have a 30-minute break for the next exam.
Didn't you like flicking his butt?
There's no way you can fail.
You need to wave by your locker with your locks for Mr. Medley to collect them so he knows he's not.
Here, tell me your number on your locker.
589.
589, you say.
Hey, nah, I just better hold up. Bye.
Have fun, y'all.
Good morning, welcome. First floor cafeteria. First floor cafeteria, welcome, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Go to the cafeteria, first floor, good morning.
Always had a long locker. I've been blessed.
Morning. How are you? Good. Good morning. How are you? Good. Good to see you. Welcome back. How you doing?
A volleyball championship size court and 2 side courts. We'll have a weight room, a cardio room, but that will not be done until the end of the calendar year. Are we going to have pep rallies? Viva Cristo Rey! Viva Cristo Rey! All right.
At our old school, everybody pretty much knew each other because it was so small and confined. But now, since it's a bigger building, a lot of the 10th graders or juniors that I used to talk to at the old school building, I don't see them every day, and I don't get to really talk to them that much.
There was a bit of joyful chaos in the last building, in that as soon as the bell rang and classes changed, everybody in the school was in the common spaces all at once. But we speak a lot here about using the time from bell to bell. So here, first of all, the fact that we have classroom space dedicated to a particular teacher or a particular subject allows us to maximize the hour that we have with each student. Little things like projectors easily play a video without tremendous effort.
And I really enjoy the views from each classroom because there's multiple windows. So you can see like a lot of lighting comes in, and then like you can just like look outside and see Atlanta. So I don't think it looks like a prison anymore.
The first day I walked in this building, I remember looking around and saying, this is a very state-of-the-art lab. And slowly pour it into the sodium hydroxide, slowly. And I didn't know what to expect, but it certainly exceeded my expectations. We see he lit this thing on fire, set it ablaze. What do we end with? What do we see? Smoke. So we see some smoke. You know, I'm able to do amazing reactions that produce some bright, vibrant colors, but because of the ventilation, I can do that. It's fully ventilated. There's no toxic fumes getting out to the classroom. It's not just a formula. You know, we actually get to do science. We get to explore.
I'm very grateful for the school building, and especially all the donors that put in the time and the money to get us the school building. But I'm kind of a little hurt because the teachers have their own lounge up there with ping pong and all these other games, and I'm like, I think the seniors kind of deserve something like that. I think that should be our floor, but they, that's fine. We'll let them have it. We haven't had a gym for 3 years. We've had this little blue room next to the cafeteria.
If students wanted to go out and play or practice, it was entirely dependent on weather.
It used to be on concrete, kind of like an incline on a hill. That's not really the best environment to play anything on, because if you fall, it's gonna hurt. We didn't really have goals or anything like that.
For me, as a school counselor, it will mean that my students who I encourage to get exercise, it will give them a space to be able to do that.
I think sports do have an effect on our academic skills because it's a stress reliever. When you're kind of stressed out, you can go outside and kick the ball or just play around and they'll help you out. It develops certain skills in you that gives you determination. And also having the games here and having the gym will help a lot for school spirit.
The gymnasium expansion was to include an outdoor play area. You don't see an outdoor play area in downtown Atlanta.
I'm excited. Now that we have a soccer field, it's like, wow, we're actually a high school now.
The reward of this place is watching students grow, watching students all of a sudden believe that they are college worthy, watching students take on difficult classes and come bring me their grades and show, look, did you ever see that I could make an 80 in an AP class? Did you ever think that I would really be ready for college?
The curriculum of Cristo Rey, it's not different from public school. I feel like what really stands out about Cristo Rey is not necessarily the materials they give me. Teachers are very dedicated into really making sure that we have an education here. Because I know for a fact that if I stay after school for 30 minutes and just go into my teacher's office, he will help me for an hour. I know that for a fact. My dream school is MIT, top school in engineering in the country, and so that's where I want to be. And that's something that I really find pleasure in, having really to kick my own butt in order to get a problem right, which is why I always do in calculus. And so, going to a top school like that would really satisfy my goal of making myself a better person.
Yeah.
¿Cómo te fue, Abraham?
Bien. Tomé unos 2 exámenes hoy.
¿Sí?
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm just statistically above average student. My friends are also, a lot of them are above average. But I do have a few that, they don't get 32 on ACTs. They don't have 3.8 GPAs. Cristo Rey does not say you need to be smart to succeed. It's telling you you need to have the motivation to succeed. It's just the discipline and the mental state a person has that makes them successful. That is what Cristo Rey is truly trying to promote.
In 2013, I wouldn't have envisioned that all of this could be possible in such a short period of time. It still takes my breath away when I think about it.
For me, Cristo Rey is about social justice. I think we as citizens of Atlanta have a moral obligation to make a difference in the lives of students who are deserving and who have the desire to make an impact on their life.
I see our students out showing people this is what education can do for people. I want them to help steer society. I think they have an awful lot to offer. Our students are amazing.
I definitely had the sense that for Ted Benning, this was a legacy project. I mean, literally, we have changed the skyline with the Cristo Rey sign as an entry point into Atlanta.
I think Cristo Rey will always be a place that when I go by, I'll say, gosh, I was glad I was involved in that.
When you create something beautiful, when you create something that serves the common good, I think you're praising him. You're giving him the glory.
Well, the nature of construction is to create and let go. Lead building is nothing but a tool. It's a tool that's used for those kids to learn. The fact that we've been fortunate enough to be able to give something back is for us a blessing.
I've learned a lot just listening to Ted. Ted has this real desire and thirst for holiness, but he would never use those terms. He'd be embarrassed to use those terms, but his life is about purpose, is about meaning. It's about the bigger picture.
Alan Wallace, the superintendent, started a drive of clothes, distributed to the street folks here just to be sure that everybody had something warm to wear.
He's authentic. He smells phoniness a million miles away. And so when he senses something that's authentic, that's real, that somehow is about that bigger purpose, is about that meaning, he's all in. He's all in.
The view has to be longer than what's in it for me today. And hopefully I'm doing that, and our company is doing that a little bit better today than we did yesterday.
There's something very special about our students and the energy that is in this building.
Like every building, you turn them over, you give your children away, you nurture a building, you get it done, you polish it, and you turn it over, and then the folks that ultimately are going to use it, and they enjoy it, then that's all the better.
Anytime you get a solid education, and then you get married and have your own children, you're going to pass on the educational values you received to your family members. And so I think we're making a difference for generations to come, and I think that's pretty sizable.
This opportunity could lead to something greater than just well-educated young men and women who go off to be part of the workforce, but that it would actually create young men and women who were men and women for and with others, which is what our mission is.
I was given a tour right after my interview for this job, and Father Van Dyke told me, when these kids graduate, there won't be a dry eye in the room. I remember thinking, okay, yeah, whatever. But I think after about a week, I knew exactly what he meant, and I can absolutely guarantee that I will be crying on their graduation day.
Let's get in line, guys. Because there's people down there waiting.
I'm Bill Garrett, and I invite you now to all stand as we begin the first graduation in the history of Cristo Rey.
My dear class of 2018, surviving while being selfish is not who you are. You have given and been given help, love, and forgiveness. You are worthy. Let others know they also are of worth. Help someone else along the way. Look ahead, but don't forget to look back and discover who has sacrificed for your sake. Thank them. Remember, Cristo Rey Atlanta will always be your home. Come home. Come tell us about what is happening in your life. We will always be here for you.